Hello everyone, my name's Craig Lang, XJW, over in Perth here, Western Australia. Just like to say that I thought I'd make another video. I've made a few videos. My video of exiting the Jehovah's Witnesses last year, I faded. I wouldn't give the benefit of disfellowship in me, so I'd just like to make this video about that. I've just attended a XJW event in Sydney last Saturday. They're making a documentary about the truth, which is they tour a few countries, US is part of it, and Australia, about the Watchtower organisation, how they've hurt a lot of people and broken up families by shunning, and people have died at their hands by following the blood doctrine, which has really hurt a lot of people. They lose loved ones because they refuse to take blood. And also meeting various ones which have also been elders and Bethelites from around the world that attended. It's very good to see people actually being themselves for once, instead of being that identity that Watchtower wants them to be. Put on the new personality. Some of these people are atheists, and some of them I met there actually still believe in God, like myself. And it was interesting to know there was an older couple there that left back in 1981 when I was born. And I asked them, without any internet then, what made you leave? And they said, well, we just thought it wasn't right how these men were micromanaging our lives of all these rigid rules. And when you look into the Bible, it says once Jesus Christ has died for our sins, that's it. It's done. He's died for everybody on the earth. We don't need to go and report our hours and preach and actually earn our right. We actually have, it's already been done. That ransom sacrifice has covered our sins. So it's interesting that they said that, because in this organisation, the Jehovah's Witness organisation, or the Watchtower organisation as it's also known, promotes that you've got to constantly be doing more or Jehovah won't be happy. This nonsense about preaching, whereas I don't recall in the Bible where Jesus' disciples ever did 50 hours or 70 hours and told Jesus how many hours they did, and then write it down on paper, and everyone is judged in a sense by the status or how many hours they do. Oh, I won't befriend you, you're spiritually weak, you don't go out much. That kind of nonsense. And then you've got forcing people to befriend and accept toxic people in the organisation. For instance, myself, I'm generally an easygoing person. I like to get along with people. When I see people that are narcissistic or nasty to others for no apparent reason, I think it's disgusting. You don't need to treat people like that. For instance, the organisation is bad for their treatment of single mothers, for one thing. Pedophiles it's a haven for pedophiles, and like I've mentioned in my original video, in my testimony, my grandfather was an XJW. Oh no, sorry, he was a disfellowship Jehovah's Witness. He served 2 prison terms, and he's got many victims. He's a pedophile, and he wasn't remorseful at all. And the ridiculous part, even when he was going to serve his 2nd term, was, oh, I really wanted to serve Jehovah, to the judge. So imagine their stupidity. The judge would be like, oh my goodness, is that what it's full of? Organised. Anyway, speaking of pedophiles, there was Australian Royal Commission in 2015 into the child abuse amongst the Jehovah's Witnesses, and at that XJW activist event last Saturday, there was the actual lawyer that addressed the elders in that court case, Australian Royal Commission. Angus Stewart, his name is, and it was nice to see that so many there supporting the XJW community, and the next event will be in Melbourne for the International Convention. There'll be a protest, a peaceful protest that is. People are happy to come along, get involved. I hear you have to go on to the Facebook page for more details, but it's a peaceful protest about those. There's many coming from around the world, XJWs, and it's interesting to see so many leaving. And this is what got me last year when I started watching videos. John Cedar's channel is an ideal channel to watch, to wake you up the way he explains the rebuttals or the organiser. He's an ex-elder from England, and he was at this actual event in Sydney. So if you want to watch John Cedar's channel, Lloyd Evans is the real name of the guy, ex-elder. He was there with his family and other activists. So if you go onto John Cedar's channel, you'll find the Sydney event, and it's 2 hours. You can watch that. And it's the testimonies of people that left and where they are now after they've left. But going back now to part of the reason why I left, I had suspicions last year. I mean, doubts over the years, and those channels validated my doubts by answering questions about the doctrine, the behaviour, the mannerisms and behaviour of the governing body, the way they talk about people that are non-Jehovah's Witnesses. It's quite disgusting. Talk about being loving. And also, I don't agree with them baptising people that are so young, like children. I mean, and then shunning them when they get older. Their parents are obligated to, because that's what the anointed brothers, the governing body, tell them to do. Tony Morris and his group of deluded old men that are running the organisation. When you look at the Bible, the context of scriptures are totally different to how they explain them. And what I find interesting myself is I've taken notes over the years just about every meeting, convention and assembly. And when you look back on that, there's nothing significant to show that we're any different from any other religion. Okay, we all believe in a being of God, but Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons and that are just one group that criticise other religions. They don't have any actual proof that they are chosen by God. This nonsense about Jesus throwing the devil out of the heaven in 1914. And when you go back to ancient history, 537 BCE is what the historians support as the time was when the Israelites were conquered by Roman. Whereas the Jehovah's Witnesses will say 607 BC, so it suits their narrative, 1914. And as we know, if we go into the book of Daniel, they work out that figure from time 6 and 7.5 times, and it comes to 1914. I mean, that's just mathematical guessing. That means nothing. And not only that, there's also the blood doctrine, and anyone actually that have left Jehovah's Witnesses, there's interesting films to watch. It's called The Children's Act of Emma Thompson. It's about this young boy that tried to have, was forced to have a blood transfusion, and his parents didn't want him to have it, but an interesting movie to watch. Another one is Apostasy, which is about this girl dies because she's got some horrible illness and she can't have blood. It's an interesting movie. Just Jehovah's, the behaviour is all based on Jehovah's Witnesses. And also a movie called Confessions of a Teenage Jerk. So if there's any teenagers watching, it shows the difficulty teenagers have going through high school and puberty, and obviously during that time we're all hormonal, you would be, so it's difficult. You first notice attraction to the opposite sex, and there's a lot of sexual repression in the organisation because people can't actually be themselves. They have to hold themselves to marriage, or which is morally right. I mean, there's lots of people out there, non-religious, that if they choose to marry, have no sex before marriage, that's fine. But there's no need of a chaperone and all this nonsense and constantly someone watching two adults doing the wrong thing. I mean, it's just absolute pathetic. And another thing is also, as I know myself, I found it difficult, and that's where over the years, just the way the constant busybody and gossiping, you can't be yourself in the organisation, and you can't even date anybody. I mean, it's just ridiculous, really. I mean, you can't take a woman out. I mean, it's your business what you do. If you do anything wrong, if God has a problem with it, that's between you and him. It's got nothing to do with an organisation. They say, oh, you bring reproach upon Jehovah's, and that. But they only care about their image. It's a company. The Watchtower organisation is a publishing company. They only care about the image. They don't care about people. I mean, for instance, there's people also committing suicide in this organisation, been shunning, especially there's a young man in America that committed suicide because his family shunned him. And I've also mentioned in one of my other videos about this disfellowship teenager I worked with in Canada, which was very interesting. But the Watchtower organisation wants you to believe that the people who believe become drug addicts, losers, alcoholics, frothing at the mouth, crazy, insane people going on a rant talking nonsense. Well, I tell you what, it's not true. Even one of our family friends said to me, I know you're very sincere in what you were doing with your religion. I thought you would be the last person to leave, so surely there's got to be something wrong if you're leaving. And all those activist videos that came, all the people that left, and a lot of these people are hurt badly, and all they want to do is help others and realise that they're victims of this organisation. The fear they put in people through fear-mongering, the end of the world. Look, we don't really know what the future holds. I mean, let God and the spirit world deal with that. We just need to have a strong faith in God for those who believe in God and rely on him. You can study the Bible at your own free will. You don't need an organisation to tell you what to believe. And also remember, if someone tells you can't question things and you're forced to believe, like the governing body said, even if it doesn't make sense, well, what's the point? I mean, if they told you to jump off a cliff and it doesn't make sense, would you do it? No way. Of course you question things. Remember in the Bible, they questioned Jesus and he always gave them a good answer. He never said, well, don't ask that question, just believe it. And this is a corporation, $1 billion corporation, and they've also been selling off kingdom halls left, right and centre around the world, and branches. The latest branch for sale is this Greek branch in Athens. So it's not sincere as you think it is. They create this image, it's all loving and kind, and we have the truth, and there's no such love in the world. You can go to the other side of the world and your brothers and sisters automatically, you can stay with them, and it's like a worldwide brotherhood, so wonderful. Well, there is nice people in the organisation, no doubt, but there's also a lot of bad people in the organisation. And a lot of the good people are victims. We all are initially victims, and we've been conned by this organisation for their own benefit. Look what happens when there's difficulties. How many of the normal people, which they term as rank and file publishers, are ever helped? Like myself, I can say individually, my congregation I was in last, I did not have a job for a while, and there was generous enough people to offer to help me with food. That's fair enough, but that's when it comes to, there is some nice people in the organisation, but when you look at it, for instance, you had all these people in New York in Bethel, and then all of a sudden they were told to leave, older people. So now they've got a recruitment video about the last broadcast about encouraging people, young people, to come to Bethel. So all those people were thrown out, basically probably got no skills. They half their life been in the branch in New York, and the governing body and those in charge just don't care. It's all about replacing the old with new. And that's exactly what any organisation does in the world. The only thing is that lives are lost by this blood doctrine, which clearly the scriptures say that not to drink blood. It never said taking anything about refusing to take blood if it's necessary to survive. They twist the interpretation of the scripture. So I encourage any people that are watching this to do your research, and if you feel afraid of leaving or being shunned by your family, don't feel. There's a lot of support now, because tomorrow, which will be June 29th, I'll be having a talk to a psychiatrist, I think, or psychologist in Peru. He's an ex-JW, ex-Jehovah's Witness. He left over 10 years ago. He was shunned by his family, so now he's qualified, and he's going to have a discussion with me, a session about how to help cope with leaving the Jehovah's Witness organisation, despite having therapy with a non-ex-JW. She was helpful, but maybe someone who knows more background. So anybody that is looking to leave, I can tell you, just have to look on the internet, JW Facts, ex-JW, avoidjw.org, and also a number of other websites that are available. You can look up, and they're very supportive. There's a wealth of information out there, and there's many support groups now for those that leave. So don't be afraid of leaving. Reach out to myself. I've got my email mentioned in one of my videos. I think it's my first video of my email, which is Snagga, that's SNAGGA344 @gmail.com. So if you need support or any advice to link to different groups in your state, like I know there's meet-up groups in Queensland and different ones living over there on Facebook, the ex-JW community, so they can be a source of help to you over there. And it's good that you can still, just because we use the organisation to make friends doesn't mean that you can't have friends, or you might finding it difficult when you leave, that you can still have friends in the ex-JW community, genuine friends that won't judge you because maybe you want to grow a beard, or maybe you want to get a tattoo, or maybe you want to listen to a certain type of music, or you don't need those trivial things to worry about. It's not somebody to judge you because you didn't do 50 hours, or you're not a pioneer, or you're not an elder, you're not reaching out anymore, you're spiritually weak. None of those pathetic terms which held us in bondage for so long, and we felt like we were in a straitjacket. You couldn't be yourself. So some of the things I'll mention that I enjoyed since leaving is just, which I encourage others that intend to leave or have left, is just take it easy. It's very stressful when you leave. I mean, it's trying to sleep was extremely difficult. Thinking, pondering, am I making the right decision? Maybe those videos were wrong, but the evidence was just too much evidence there, and it was backed up by a variety of facts, just abundance of facts, to prove that the Watchtower organisation is just another false religion. It's just like a cult that controls people, high control. They get their members involved, be baptised, and then they basically, if you don't progress through the ranks, you're considered spiritually weak. Anyone with a mental problem, like I've got some in my family, and fortunately only my extended family, aunts and uncles, are still witnesses. My mum was raised one but never baptised, so she doesn't shun me. My siblings studied for a bit, but they stopped. I encouraged my sisters to stop. because even they had some bad experiences with the pioneers they were studying with. So I encourage people, there's many of us like myself you can reach out to. We're compassionate. We will help you, point you in the right direction to seek help. And if you aren't, I'm going to say this again, thinking of leaving and you're not sure, all you can do, when you do intend to leave or fade because you don't want to be marked as an apostate, when you do leave, try not to do anything crazy like getting involved. There is bad people out there too, but there's a lot of good people as well that will help you, and they'll be fascinated to hear about your story and make good friendships with not just ex-JWs, but people that were never like ex-Mormons or just people that were never in a religion. And there's also a lot of other, like for instance, when I left, I went to sport games and I love concerts, music, so I attended concerts. Sometimes I just stay at home. I love sleeping in now on a weekend because I don't have to go out in the ministry. And sometimes I just stayed home and watched a movie, and I tried to do research, and gradually I started to go out and meet new people, and I haven't made any new actual friends yet, but it takes time. You have to find people that enjoy what you like doing, and also the cult does leave you mentally scarred after coming out of that religion, because I thought I had good intentions, like anyone going in. I thought I could help people, but essentially I realised I was just being used. You were never good enough. And having listened to the testimonies of ex-Jehovah's Witness elders and Bethelites from the US and Australia and missionaries, you were just used as a tool to control, to achieve the organisation's means, nothing else. They don't care about you as an individual. As soon as you do something wrong, they'll cut you off at the drop of a hat. So just think of it, they're not real friends, they're not true friends, they're conditional friends. You want unconditional friends. So never lose hope. If you're a young teenager, there's so much support you can leave. They're in an age now when there's abundance of information on the internet. You can read videos, watch videos, I encourage it. There's John Sheeder's channel, there's Stop the Shunning, there's ex-JW Fifth, there's JW Suicides for those that are still a witness for you, if those that still believe in God. And it's also many others you'll find. When I left, there was just more and more. It's hard to keep up of those that are leaving. And it's wonderful to see that there's many, and this is what also got me to feel comfortable leaving, was there's so many. It's just not one or two. And they're just all around the world. And I thought, why? And why doesn't the governing body, why did this governing body in their broadcasts encourage us not to look at the internet? Because they're afraid. If there was nothing to worry about, we could do research from sunrise to sunset, or till the cows come home, and we wouldn't find any evidence. Every scripture, every interpretation, every archaeological evidence would support the truth. If that was true, the organisation, they would support it. But that doesn't. There's many discrepancies in the context of the doctrine, and it's just, if you go back to Charles Taze Russell, the founder, right through to the governing body now, they have what they call new change, new light. Well, God is not schizophrenic. He doesn't change his person. Oh, okay, this was wrong. I'll tell him this is it. This is the answer. I mean, he's not like that. So this is man-made, changing the doctrine. And there's some interesting books too to read. It's called Crisis of Conscience by Ray Charles. It's a fascinating book about a governing body member who thought the organisation was wrong and making up policies and procedures that shouldn't have been there. He left back in 1980. He was disfellowshipped, and he wrote a book called Crisis. It's a dynamite book to read. It's just, once you read that book, no doubt in your mind that the organisation is not supported by God, even if his real name is Jehovah. So do your research. There's another book to read. There's an interesting book from Lloyd Evans called The Reluctant Apostate. He's the one who runs the John Cedars channel. And there's also, to join on Facebook, you can, or on the internet, as Rick Ferron in Boston. He has a program, and it's interesting, like a radio program. Every people call in, and you can listen to it. It's called The Six Screens. So Rick Ferron, Six Screens, and you're interesting to see people talk about different topics and what they suffered in the Watchtower organisation. Also, those that have left. It's a very fascinating program. So anyway, I'm going to finish up here because it's Friday evening and I think I'm going to finish watching my movie, but I think I thought it was important to I'll make some more videos. I want to make some more videos about my experiences over the years, field service, meetings, conventions, with witnesses even travelling in different countries. So I must say it's not easy, yourself, for those that may be single out there trying to find somebody to looking for a relationship. That's don't give up. I mean, many people have left and they successfully found the right person. So anyway, I'll finish up the video and thanks for watching.